right, dives right in today. We're going to check out the 2024 Mac Mini.
Brand new.
Yeah. Engadget did a review of it, and it looks pretty sweet. I'm really curious to get your take on it.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's really interesting. The Mini is now the cheapest way to get into Apple Silicon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And those performance gains, especially with the M4 Pro chip, they're really something else.
Okay. So, first impressions, though, right? Have you seen how small this thing is? It's crazy.
Yeah, Engadget, they said it was like a big Apple TV.
It's wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, they said the writer's daughter came in, saw it, and was like, that little box is a computer. Like, serious.
It's tiny.
It is.
But they managed to, cram so much power into it.
It's incredible.
Yeah. But hold on. Before we get, totally into performance, let's talk about the chips, the M4 and M4 Pro.
Okay, sure.
What's the deal with those?
Well, they're Apple's own system-on-a-chip processors.
Right.
It's basically they put the CPU, the GPU, and everything else all on one chip. Okay.
Really saves space and makes it, super efficient.
And Engadget did all those benchmarks. I mean, what are the numbers looking like?
Well, the Geekbench scores are pretty amazing, especially for that M4 Pro.
Yeah.
It got, almost 4,000 on single-threaded tasks.
Whoa.
And over 22,000 on multi-threaded tests.
Yeah.
For comparison, most PCs this year, they're only getting between 2,500 and 2,800 on those single-threaded tests.
No way.
Yeah, and the multi-threaded, even the best Snapdragon chips are only hitting 14,000.
Wow. Okay, but for a regular person using this thing every day, what does that actually mean?
Basically, everything's going to be really fast.
Okay.
Launching apps, multitasking, it'll all be super smooth.
Right.
Video editing, photo stuff, even really demanding software, the M4 Pro just breezes through it.
I gotta be honest, though, whenever I see a computer this powerful, I always think, can it run games?
Yeah, that's common thought. And the answer is yes, it can.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Engadget tried it out with some games, and the results are pretty impressive. What kind of games?
Well, they tried Lies of P, which is pretty demanding visually,
Yeah.
And it ran at 1440p resolution, maxed out settings, 60 frames per second.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. And they even got it to run at 4K, though it was probably capped at 3050s, which, might not be for everyone.
That's still amazing that it can even do 4K.
Oh.
And it wasn't just Lies of P, right?
No. They also tested Resident Evil 4 and No Man's Sky and got, really similar results.
Okay, so this isn't just, a fluke then?
Nope, not at all. Apple seems to be serious about making the Mac Mini a real option for gamers.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that could be huge, especially for people who want, a really powerful setup, but in a small package.
Yeah, the M4 Pro is really something else, especially in something so small.
It is. And, we're just scratching the surface here. We haven't even talked about what this means for creative professionals or how it could change things for, researchers, podcasters, students even.
It sounds like we have a lot more to unpack here. Let's dig into all that. So we're back, still geeking out over this new Mac Mini. It's crazy how much power it has, But let's move past the numbers for a second. Who is this thing actually for? And Engadget talked about that a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, right? It's for anyone who needs a powerful desktop but doesn't have, a ton of space.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, think about students in dorms or people working from home with small desks, even businesses with tiny offices.
Right.
It's so small, it can fit anywhere.
It's the perfect space saver. You don't have to sacrifice performance or anything.
Yeah.
Engadget even mentioned that it could be a real workhorse for, creative professionals.
Yeah.
The people who really push their computers to the limit.
Yeah, the M4 Pro, especially if you bump up the RAM, it can handle, video editing, photo stuff, even 3D rendering.
Oh,
I mean, Engadget didn't go too deep into that, but the benchmarks, they suggest this thing can handle some serious creative work.
And of course, we got to mention gaming again. Seeing Lies of P running at 1440p on this tiny computer, it's insane.
It really shows how far Apple's silicon has come.
It does. It makes me think, this could be a great portable workstation.
Totally, for video editing on the go, streaming, maybe even game development.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could totally see myself editing videos on location with this, tucked away in my backpack. But, okay, let's be real for a sec. Engadget did mention some downsides.
Yeah.
Those upgrade prices, they're pretty rough. And then there's the fan noise. Are those things, a big deal for most people?
Well, it depends, right? If you're on a budget, the base model with 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But if you need more storage or RAM later on, those upgrades, they get pricey.
Yeah, definitely something to think about.
And the fan noise, it's not a deal breaker, but it might bug some people, especially if they need like a quiet space to work.
Right, right. It's kind of a trade-off then. Get amazing power in a tiny package, but maybe with a few compromises.
Right. Exactly. It all comes down to your needs, you know?
Yeah.
If you need total silence, maybe there are better options. But if power and portability are more important, then the Mac Mini might be perfect.
You know, there was this one thing in the Engadget review that really stuck with me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Okay, what is it?
They mentioned how Apple put the power button on the bottom of their machine, which is kind of weird, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
And they said it seemed to contradict Apple's whole sustainability thing.
I see what they mean.
Like, on one hand, they're all about recycled materials and carbon neutral manufacturing.
Yeah.
But then the design makes it like harder to actually turn the thing off.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, we made this eco-friendly computer, but, you know, keep it running all the time.
It's a mixed message for
Yeah.
sure. Makes you wonder if they're really serious about sustainability or if it's more about like looking good.
It's something to think about.
It is. But that's what we do here, right? We look at things from different angles,
Yeah.
make people think a little bit.
Totally. And speaking of thinking, Engadget mostly focused on performance and design, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there's another side to this Mac Mini story that I think is worth talking about.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Well, the Mac Mini, it's like a blank slate,
Okay.
a tiny, powerful computer that you can use for, like, almost anything.
Right.
Engadget mentioned gaming, creative stuff, even AI, like transcription.
Yeah.
But I think that's just scratching the surface. We can go beyond those typical uses.
So we're talking about like using it for things that are a little less conventional.
Exactly. In the next part, let's explore some of those like less obvious uses for the Mac Mini. I think you'll find it pretty interesting.
Okay, so back for the last part of our Mac Mini deep dive. We talked about all the usual stuff, gaming, creative work, AI. But you were saying before that this thing can be like way more than just a regular computer.
Yeah, exactly. It's got power, it's tiny, it's got all those ports. I think we can go way beyond the typical stuff.
All right, I'm all ears. Give me some examples. Like, what kind of unconventional uses are we talking about here?
Well, think about this. The Mac Mini as the brains of your smart home.
Oh,
It's so small you can stick it anywhere, right?
yep.
Closet, media center, whatever. And it's powerful enough to handle like all sorts of home automation stuff.
You know, now that you mention it, it makes a lot of sense. It could control like lights, temperature, security systems, even entertainment.
Totally. And you could use it as a central hub for streaming media. You know, send it to all the screens in your house.
That's really cool.
And with all those Thunderbolt and USB-C ports, you can connect all kinds of devices, sensors, whatever. It could be like the ultimate DIY smart home center.
So I could be sitting like, Mac Mini, dim the lights, it's movie time, and play some jazz music.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. Think about small businesses, schools, even.
Okay.
The Mac Mini could run digital signs, those interactive kiosks you see sometimes. It could even be a small server, you know, for file sharing or network stuff. And it's all in this tiny, affordable package.
I'm telling you, this little machine is a jack of all trades. You know, it even makes me think about accessibility.
Absolutely.
All the accessibility features Apple has, like voice control and stuff.
It could be huge for people with disabilities, you know?
It could open up so many possibilities.
Exactly.
So we've got smart homes, businesses, schools, accessibility. What else?
Well, don't forget about the graphics performance. Think about video encoding or live streaming.
Oh, yeah, right.
You could have this super portable live streaming setup powered by a Mac Mini.
That's awesome.
Like a one-person mobile production studio, high-quality video from anywhere, no need for a giant desktop.
You could take it to like conferences, concerts, sporting events, all that stuff.
Exactly. And what about like research and engineering?
Oh, yeah, true.
I mean, it's got the power for data analysis, simulations, even controlling lab equipment.
Yeah, it's really versatile.
It is. So I guess after all this, what's the main takeaway for everyone listening?
I think it's that we need to think differently about what computers can do.
Yeah.
The Mac Mini shows us that they could be powerful, tiny, and flexible all at the same time.
It's a good reminder to ask, what else is possible?
I like that. Be creative, be curious.
Yeah.
You know, maybe one of our listeners will come up with something we never even thought of for the Mac Mini.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's the cool thing about technology. Always changing, always pushing the limits.
Well said.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's our deep dive into the 2024 Mac Mini. But before we go, I want to leave you with one last thought. What would you do with a Mac Mini? How would you use it to, solve a problem or create something new? Let us know your ideas. Until next time, Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.